Between 1:47 a.m. and 2:28 a.m. on February 1, 2026, the digital monitoring grid of an entire residential block in Tucson, Arizona, effectively went blind. Cameras went offline. Wi-Fi networks dropped across multiple homes simultaneously. The doorbell camera at Nancy Guthrie's front door was manually disconnected. A neighbor's Ring camera, the one facing directly toward Nancy's property, showed no history at all for that night. The message displayed when the owner checked the footage was one he said he had never seen before. Not available. Not corrupted. Not overwritten. Not available. 41 minutes. The most critical window in this entire investigation. And across that window, almost every piece of digital evidence was either neutralized, interrupted, or simply absent. But here is the detail that reframes everything. During that same 41-minute blackout, when cameras couldn't see, when Wi-Fi signals were disrupted across multiple properties, when the only live data coming from Nancy Guthrie's body was her pacemaker's Bluetooth connection, slowly approaching disconnection, there may have been a witness that no jammer can silence, no signal can disrupt, and no pre-operation checklist can account for. A neighbor's dog woke up. For the first time its owners could ever remember, it demanded to go outside, in the middle of the night, during a 41-minute window when every electronic system nearby had gone dark. Its owners described the behavior as uncanny. Tonight, we examine the digital blackout, the selective camera failures, the investigative gaps that a former FBI agent publicly called a redo, and the one witness that no operational planning could have anticipated. Before we build every layer of this investigation, the neighbor whose Ring camera went dark on the one night it mattered, the FBI's decision to return to the neighborhood 33 days later with entirely new questions, the canine behavioral evidence that a former federal agent says should have been documented from the start, and what all of it tells us about who planned this operation and how. Make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell right now. Here at the Investigation Room, we follow the forensic trail. We examine what the evidence confirms and what the investigation failed to capture. We ask the questions that the official timeline leaves open.
New in-depth documentaries every single week.
If you're already invested in this case, hit that like button and tell me in the comments. Do you think the digital blackout across that neighborhood was deliberate? Or do you believe it was coincidence? Leave your analysis below. I read every single one. Now let's build this case from the ground up. Nancy Guthrie, née Long, was 84 years old on the night she was taken from her home in the Catalina Foothills neighborhood of Tucson, Arizona. She was a widow since 1988, when her husband Charles passed away. She had 3 children and lived alone in a house she had called home for more than 50 years, situated between East Skyline Drive and North Campbell Avenue, against the base of the Santa Catalina Mountains. She was, by every account, cognitively sharp and fully present. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos described her publicly as sharp as a tack. She had no cognitive impairment. She was not a wanderer. She did not leave without a destination. Physically, Nancy had significant limitations. At 84, she could not walk 50 yards unassisted, according to Sheriff Nanos himself. She depended on daily medication. She had high blood pressure and a pacemaker. She wore hearing aids, and when she removed them at night, she was completely deaf to the world around her. Her daughter, Savannah Guthrie, is co-anchor of NBC's Today Show, one of the most recognized faces in American morning television. Her other daughter, Annie Guthrie, lives nearby in Tucson. Her son-in-law, Tommaso Chiabra, was a constant presence in her weekly life. Nancy also had a dog, a small black terrier that neighbors knew well. They would see it in her front yard, trotting alongside her. It was the kind of dog that reacted to everything: headlights sweeping across a dark street, a car door closing 2 houses down, movement in the desert stillness of a Tucson night. That dog had passed away before February 1st, 2026. That absence would become one of the most significant forensic details of this entire case. To understand what makes the events of February 1st so operationally significant, you have to first understand what a normal night in that neighborhood looked like. The Catalina Foothills is a quiet, well-maintained residential area. Crime there was historically minor. Neighbor Jeff Lamy, who lived 4 doors down from Nancy and appeared on the Surviving the Survivor podcast on March 2nd, described the typical criminal activity in the area as limited to things like mail theft, the kind of low-level offense that goes largely unnoticed and unreported. Neighbors had Ring cameras and Nest systems. They had Wi-Fi connected security setups that most people in that kind of neighborhood install for peace of mind without ever expecting to use. On a normal night, those systems ran quietly in the background, recording motion events, uploading clips to the cloud, generating logs that nobody ever reviewed. February 1st, 2026 was not a normal night. The digital record of what happened in that neighborhood between 1:47 a.m. and 2:28 a.m. is defined almost entirely by absence, a series of gaps and interruptions where data should exist but does not. The doorbell camera at Nancy's front entrance was disconnected at 1:47 a.m. The neighbor's Ring camera, specifically the one pointed toward Nancy's property, showed no history for that period at all. Multiple other homeowners reported internet service disruptions during the same hours, and at 2:28 a.m., the last continuous piece of biological data from Nancy Guthrie herself, the Bluetooth connection between her pacemaker and her phone, was severed. In 41 minutes, the entire digital monitoring architecture of that block registered simultaneous anomalies. And the only thing that registered a positive signal, the only witness that logged a behavioral response indicating presence, proximity, and disturbance, was an animal, a neighbor's dog, waking up for the first time in its owner's memory to go outside in the dead of night, during the exact window when Nancy Guthrie was being taken. Let us establish the confirmed digital facts of that night in chronological order. At 1:47 a.m. on February 1st, Nancy Guthrie's Nest doorbell camera was manually disconnected. The Pima County Sheriff's Department and CBS News both confirmed this timestamp. It was not a glitch. It was not a power surge. Someone physically tampered with the device at the front door. The camera stopped recording at 1:47 a.m. During the following 25 minutes, there is no visual record of anything that occurred at the front of the home or the surrounding approach. At 2:12 a.m., interior camera software detected motion inside the house. No image was captured, just a software-generated detection log indicating that something moved within the field of view. At 2:28 a.m., Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker disconnected from the Bluetooth app on her phone. Her phone was found inside the home the next morning. The pacemaker went silent. 41 minutes had passed since the camera went dark. Now add the neighbor's data. A neighbor whose home had a direct line of sight toward Nancy Guthrie's property checked his Ring camera history after the news broke. What he found was a message he had never seen in his experience with the device. Not available. Not a corrupted file. Not a blank recording. The history for that specific night, for that specific camera, was simply not there. He reported this to investigators. He told News Nation's Brian Enton, who first published the detail on March the 6th, that this had never happened before. The neighbor had 4 Ring cameras in total. 3 functioned normally throughout the night. They captured footage without interruption. Only 1 showed no available history. The camera pointed toward Nancy Guthrie's home. This is forensically significant. A system-wide failure would affect all 4 cameras. A random technical glitch would be distributed without pattern. But a single camera failure, precisely the camera with the most direct view of the relevant property, is not a system failure. It is a targeted gap. One blind spot, positioned exactly where it was most useful to whoever was operating in that neighborhood. And across the wider block, other homeowners reported similar disruptions. Multiple residents told NBC News that FBI agents who visited them on March 5th asked specifically whether they had experienced any interruptions or problems with their internet service on the night of February 1st. Agents told residents that several people in the area had already reported such disruptions. The disruptions were real enough and widespread enough to prompt a formal door-to-door inquiry 33 days after they occurred. That delay is part of the story we need to examine carefully. On Thursday, March 5th, 2026, 33 days after Nancy Guthrie disappeared, FBI agents and Pima County Sheriff's Department officers returned to the Catalina Foothills neighborhood and went door to door asking residents a very specific question. Not whether they had seen anything unusual, not whether they had noticed anyone who seemed out of place. They were asking about internet connectivity. Specifically, did you experience any disruptions to your internet service on the night of February 1st? 3 homeowners confirmed this line of questioning to NBC News. Additional neighbors confirmed it to News Nation. Now, hold that timeline. Nancy disappeared on February 1st. Investigators were aware within the first week that the doorbell camera had been disconnected and that digital records were compromised. Brian Enton reported on March the 6th that a neighbor's Ring camera showed not available for that night. But the formal canvass asking about internet disruptions happened on March 5th. That is more than a month between the event and the investigation of the event's digital footprint. Former FBI Special Agent Jennifer Coffindaffer, whose commentary on this case has been among the most precise and technically grounded offered publicly, did not mince words when she addressed this timeline. She called the March 5th canvass a redo, not a follow-up. There is a meaningful difference between those two terms. A follow-up happens when new information surfaces and investigators return to collect additional data. A redo happens when investigators return to collect data that should have been collected the first time around. Coffindaffer described the delay as disappointing, an unusually direct public criticism from a former federal agent about an ongoing kidnapping investigation. She stressed that when a neighbor provides information that requires further investigation, it should be acted on immediately, not weeks later. The forensic window for capturing behavioral and environmental data narrows quickly. People's memories fade. Logs get overwritten. Physical evidence degrades. What was the cost of that 33-day gap? That is a question nobody has answered publicly. But Coffindaffer's criticism extended further. She outlined what a thorough neighborhood canvass should look like, and the list she provided was methodologically specific. She explicitly mentioned unusual animal behavior as one of the sensory anomalies investigators should document. A dog barking unusually at 2 a.m. or 2:30 a.m., a motion-activated light, a camera triggered by movement. These examples were not random. They illustrated the full spectrum of stimulus response evidence that trained investigators are supposed to capture in a thorough canvass of any active crime scene perimeter. Her first and most significant example was a dog. Because unlike electronic devices, a dog's behavioral response carries information about proximity, duration, and the nature of the stimulus that no sensor can replicate. That observation connects directly to what happened in the Catalina foothills on the night of February the 1st. On the night Nancy Guthrie disappeared, a neighbor's dog woke up. The owners were inside the home with 4 Ring cameras installed, 3 of which recorded normally throughout the night. The 4th, positioned with a view toward Nancy Guthrie's property, showed no available history for the window between approximately 1:47 and 2:28 a.m. During that same window, the dog, described by its owners as having never behaved this way before, woke them up and demanded to go outside. Their characterization of the behavior, uncanny. They told NBC News, "That's really weird, isn't it?" A reaction that carried a rare quality of genuine unease from people who understood instinctively that what they were describing did not fit any normal pattern. The dog did not stir briefly and settle. It woke its owners. It directed them toward the door. It exhibited a sustained, goal-directed behavioral response that its owners had no prior reference for. Here is why that distinction matters forensically. Reflexive animal responses, a brief startle at a car passing outside, a twitch at a sudden sound, are neurologically quick and self-terminating. A dog that wakes up, persists, and directs its owner toward a specific action is responding to a sustained stimulus. Something that remained present, detectable, and sufficiently unusual to maintain the animal's heightened state long enough to trigger purposeful behavior. Retired Lieutenant Bob Kurgi of the Pima County Sheriff's Department, the same department leading the investigation alongside the FBI, addressed the behavioral analysis dimension of this directly on the Surviving the Survivor podcast on March the 2nd, weeks before the March 5th canvass. Kurgi was explicit and precise. A dog barking at 1 a.m. in a quiet residential neighborhood draws attention. Lights turn on. Neighbors look out. Someone steps outside. An intruder who hears a dog bark faces an immediate recalculation of risk. Does he abort? Does he create additional noise trying to manage the situation? Either way, the predictability and control of the operation is disrupted. Kurgi said directly, "Having a yapping dog, or a strong barking dog, is going to draw attention. It is going to make the bad guy feel uncomfortable, and uncomfortable people are more likely to get back in their car and drive away. This is not sentiment. This is tactical behavioral analysis from someone who spent his career with the same agency currently leading the search for Nancy Guthrie. The dog that belonged to the neighbor near Nancy's home was not a canine unit. It was not trained to detect anything. It was a family pet, sleeping inside a house within the disruption zone, that woke up during the precise window when every electronic surveillance system in the area had either been neutralized or gone dark. And it responded. The entire 41-minute blackout is defined by absence. Every hard data point, the doorbell camera, the Ring camera, the Wi-Fi logs, the pacemaker connection, registers as a gap, a silence, a missing record. The dog is the only living thing in that corridor that left a positive behavioral record during those minutes. That record has not been publicly analyzed with the rigor it deserves. There is a layer to the dog analysis in this case that has received almost no attention in national media coverage. It is not about the neighbor's dog. It is about Nancy Guthrie's own dog. Nancy had a small black terrier. Neighbors knew it well. Jeff Lamy, who lived 4 doors down from Nancy and appeared on the Surviving the Survivor podcast, alongside Bob Kurgi, described the dog clearly. It was a little black terrier. They saw it regularly in her front yard. And then, at some point before February the 1st, 2026, it died. Jeff Lamy confirmed it on the podcast. We had learned that her dog had passed away. Now consider what that means operationally. A small terrier living inside the home of an 84-year-old woman in a quiet desert neighborhood is not a guard dog in any formal sense, but it is, in every practical sense, an early warning system. A terrier barks at headlights. It barks at sounds no human can register at 1 a.m. It barks when someone approaches the front door. It barks when something in its environment shifts in a way that triggers its alert response. If Nancy's terrier had been alive on the night of February the 1st, 2026, the scenario that unfolded at 1:47 a.m. would have encountered an immediate and audible obstacle. A dog barking inside the home at 1 a.m. carries through the desert stillness of Catalina foothills with clarity. Jeff Lamy, 4 doors down, might have heard it. Other neighbors might have heard it. Lights might have come on. Someone might have looked outside. The absent dog left a silence that night that was not replaced by any other alarm system inside the home. Nancy's hearing aids were on the nightstand. She could not hear anything coming. Her pacemaker could not alert her. Her phone could not warn her. The only real-time, analog, unpredictable alarm that would have operated regardless of signal jamming, regardless of Wi-Fi disruption, regardless of any electronic countermeasures, was gone. Bob Kurgi was asked directly whether a small terrier could have changed the outcome of this case. He said clearly, "I don't think that's a ridiculous notion at all." Now comes the investigative question that nobody has answered publicly. Did whoever planned this know the dog was gone? Reconnaissance across 3 Saturdays, January 11th, January 24th, and January 31st, established the operational pattern. Someone watched that house closely enough to map Nancy's weekly routine down to the exact timing of her departure and return, close enough to understand her schedule in a way that required multiple confirmations. Did that level of observation also include noting the absence of a dog that had previously been seen in the front yard? Property records do not list pets. Satellite imagery does not log the presence or absence of a terrier, but a person conducting physical surveillance of a home across multiple visits, someone standing or sitting near enough to observe the front yard on multiple Saturday evenings, would notice, over time, the presence or absence of a small dog that regularly appeared outdoors. If the dog was alive during earlier surveillance passes and gone by the week of the operation, its absence could have been registered and factored into the operational planning. That is not something investigators can easily confirm or deny from records alone, but it is a question with real investigative relevance and no public answer. The object in the front pocket of the suspect visible in the doorbell footage has been discussed extensively in prior episodes of this investigation. An antenna visible above the pocket line, a debate between the Wi-Fi jammer theory and the handheld radio theory. But the question worth asking now is not only what the object was, it is what the pattern of camera failures tells us about how the disruption was achieved. 1 Ring camera failed, 3 did not. The one that failed was the one with a direct view toward Nancy Guthrie's home. If a commercial Wi-Fi jammer had been used in a fixed position outside Nancy's front door, its radius would have been limited, approximately 10 to 30 meters for standard commercial devices, according to cybersecurity expert Morgan Wright. At that range, a jammer positioned at Nancy's front entrance would affect devices closest to her property first. A neighbor's camera pointing directly toward that location and positioned within that radius would be the first device affected. Devices further away, or pointed in other directions, might experience intermittent degradation, but maintain function. That is exactly the pattern that was reported. 3 cameras functioned. One, the one with direct sightlines to the relevant address, did not. This is not conclusive. The absence of data is not confirmation of jamming, but the specificity of the failure is not consistent with a random connectivity issue. Random internet disruptions do not tend to selectively affect one camera out of 4 on the same system, while leaving the others intact. That kind of targeted failure has a more consistent explanation: proximity and directionality. The device, whatever it was, had a range. The camera inside that range went dark. The cameras outside that range did not. The Pima County Sheriff's Department confirmed it was investigating a damaged utility box found around the corner from Nancy's home as part of the investigation. If external connectivity to the neighborhood was disrupted by physical interference with infrastructure, rather than by an active jamming device carried by the suspect, that would explain the broader pattern of internet disruptions across multiple homes. External infrastructure interference is not subject to the same range limitations as a portable jammer. It could affect a wider geographic area all at once. 2 separate mechanisms may have been at play: external infrastructure disruption affecting multiple homes broadly, and a closer range device affecting the specific camera with the most direct view of the operation. Neither has been confirmed or excluded publicly by investigators. Sheriff Nanos, when asked by NBC News whether the suspect might have been carrying a Wi-Fi jammer, gave an answer that was technically careful but operationally important. He said he had not personally examined that angle closely, but that his team, working with the FBI, had looked at every angle. That is a confirmation that the jammer theory was on the investigative radar. It is not a confirmation of what investigators found. Jennifer Coffindaffer's characterization of the March 5th canvas as a redo rather than a follow-up raises a set of specific investigative questions that deserve to be asked clearly. The first was the neighbor whose Ring camera showed not available, interviewed comprehensively and immediately after February 1st. The camera failure was a forensically significant anomaly on the property closest to the incident. That anomaly should have been part of the first week canvas, not the 33-day later canvas. Whether that interview happened early, what it captured, and what was done with the information has not been publicly confirmed. The second was the neighbor whose dog exhibited unusual behavior during the blackout window interviewed with the forensic rigor that Jennifer Coffindaffer described. Did investigators document the direction the dog faced when it went outside? Did they record whether the animal vocalized and at what intensity? Did they capture whether it circled, tracked, or reacted toward a specific direction? Each of those behavioral details is forensic data. Combined with the known disruption zone mapped from the internet outage reports, a dog's directional response during the blackout window could indicate the path of approach and the path of departure. The third was the full disruption zone mapped in terms of animal behavior, not just internet connectivity. The FBI and Sheriff's Department asked about internet disruptions on March 5th. Coffindaffer's methodology explicitly requires parallel collection of anomalous animal behavior data. If investigators asked about Wi-Fi failures but did not simultaneously ask whether any pets in the household behaved unusually during the same hours, they collected only half the available behavioral record from that block. The fourth, in the weeks between February 1st and March 5th, how many other camera anomalies like the "not available" message on the neighbor's Ring device went unreported because nobody asked? Residents who checked their footage and found nothing incriminating may not have thought to report an absence. An absence on a specific night, for a specific camera, in a specific direction, is not self-evidently relevant to a non-investigator. They would not know to flag it. That is exactly why rapid, comprehensive canvassing in the first 48 to 72 hours is standard investigative protocol for a high-priority abduction. The delay created an evidence collection gap that cannot be fully recovered. Some neighbors may no longer have access to that footage. Others may have forgotten behavioral details that would have been vivid 33 hours after the event, but are fuzzy 33 days later. Coffindaffer was clear and direct about the consequences of that gap. It is disappointing to see at this stage. From a former federal agent describing an active kidnapping investigation, that is a significant statement. When you assemble every confirmed detail from that 41-minute window and cross-reference it with what we know about the planning that preceded it, a specific operational profile emerges. The surveillance across 3 Saturdays, January 11th, January 24th, and January 31st, was systematic and confirmatory, not exploratory. Someone was verifying known information across multiple weeks, not discovering new information for the first time. The level of prior knowledge required to execute a 41-minute operation in a secured home, with a mobility-limited victim, with a pre-established exit route heading south toward the border, points toward research and preparation that extended well before January 11th. The camera at Nancy's front door was targeted specifically. The suspect knew it was there. He attempted to neutralize it, improvised though his method was, before proceeding. The Ring camera at the neighbor's property, positioned with a direct view toward the operation, was within the disruption zone of whatever device or infrastructure interference was active during that window. These are not the behaviors of someone operating randomly. This is the behavioral profile of a planned operation that specifically accounted for the primary surveillance device and its most proximate backup. But every plan has gaps, and the gap in this plan was not electronic. The most sophisticated aspect of the digital disruption that night, the selective camera failure, the Wi-Fi interruptions across multiple homes, the 41-minute window of near-total electronic blindness, achieved exactly what it was designed to achieve. It eliminated the digital record of the operation. What it did not account for was a sleeping family pet, 3 houses away, that had never reacted this way in its life, waking up in the middle of a targeted blackout and leaving its owners with a sensation of uncanny certainty that something had passed nearby. No intelligence briefing accounts for a neighbor's dog, no property record logs a pet's sensory range, no surveillance of a neighborhood on 3 Saturday evenings captures whether the house 3 doors down has a dog that wakes at unusual stimuli. That was the blind spot in an otherwise carefully planned operation. And that blind spot left one witness. By 2:28 a.m. on February 1st, 2026, every major data stream from the Catalina Foothills neighborhood had registered its anomaly and gone quiet. Nancy Guthrie's doorbell camera offline since 1:47 a.m., the neighbor's Ring camera facing her property, no available history. Internet service disrupted across multiple homes. Motion detection inside Nancy's home, logged at 2:12 a.m. with no visual record. Nancy's pacemaker, disconnected from her phone at exactly 2:28 a.m. At 2:36 a.m., a Ring camera belonging to neighbors Elias and Danielle Strataguleas captured a vehicle traveling southbound on Camino Real, approximately 2.5 miles from Nancy's home. That vehicle has not been publicly identified. Within that 41-minute window, every digital system registered absence. Every hard data point is defined by what it failed to capture, except the dog. The neighbor's dog woke up. It demanded to go outside. Its owners, people who had never seen this behavior, found the reaction uncanny enough to describe it to investigators and reporters. They connected it themselves to the timing of the camera failure and the disappearance down the street. Bob Kurgi articulated what experienced law enforcement knows. A dog does not react randomly at 1 a.m. in a quiet neighborhood when nothing is happening. A dog that wakes and directs its owners toward the door during a window of unusual activity is responding to a sustained stimulus. Its behavioral response is data. The digital systems were neutralized. The human witnesses were asleep. Nancy's hearing aids were on the nightstand. The terrier that would have barked in her yard was gone, but the neighbor's dog was not gone. And it woke up during the exact 41 minutes when everything else went dark. That behavioral record has not been publicly analyzed with the depth that Coffindaffer's methodology prescribes. As of March 21, 2026, the investigation remains active and classified as a rescue operation. The combined reward for information stands at over $1.2 million. $1 million from the Guthrie family, $100,000 from the FBI. The DNA recovered from inside the home remains under testing at a private laboratory in Florida. The challenges with that biological material, related to the presence of multiple contributors, have not been publicly resolved. No identification match has been produced. Genetic genealogy expert C.C. Moore stated publicly that if she were the suspect, she would be deeply concerned that investigators are now applying genealogical DNA analysis to this case. The Golden State Killer was identified through exactly that technique. Even DNA, with no direct match in CODIS, can be used to build a family tree through partial matches with relatives who have voluntarily submitted their genetic data to public databases like GEDmatch or 23andMe. The full sleeve tattoo alert. An individual in the Tucson area reportedly sought tattoo removal shortly after Nancy's disappearance remains an active investigative thread. Biometric eye analysis of the suspect continues in parallel with the physical profile. Height 5'9" to 5'10", average build, black mustache, distinctive gait, and a pinky ring visible in the doorbell stills. The pacemaker signal sniffer, drone, and ground-based technology scanning for the unique Bluetooth MAC address of Nancy's device continues to be deployed. The device has between 6 and 7 years of battery remaining. If Nancy Guthrie is alive, her pacemaker is still transmitting. The investigation into the digital blackout of February 1st, the internet disruptions, the selective Ring camera failure, the damaged utility box, the disruption zone mapping is ongoing. Whether the full soft witness canvas that Coffindaffer described has been completed is not publicly confirmed. And the behavioral data from the neighbor's dog, the uncanny reaction during the exact blackout window, has not been publicly presented as part of the investigative record. These are not closed questions. They are open ones. Nancy Guthrie was 84 years old when she was taken from her home in the Catalina foothills of Tucson, Arizona. She was a woman who removed her hearing aids at night and went to sleep in complete silence in a house she had lived in for 50 years, after an evening that looked exactly like every other Saturday evening she had spent with her family for years. On the night she disappeared, the digital grid around her block was strategically interrupted. Cameras went dark. Networks dropped. The one camera with the clearest view of her property showed nothing. The system was neutralized with a precision that investigators are still mapping. But one thing in that neighborhood was not neutralized. One thing could not be. A neighbor's dog woke up during those 41 minutes, demanded to go outside, and left its owners with a certainty they described as uncanny. That word carries weight. Uncanny is what people say when their instincts register something the facts have not yet confirmed. A former FBI agent says that testimony should have been rigorously documented from the first canvas. It wasn't. The canvas that should have asked those questions happened 33 days later. Jennifer Coffindaffer called it a redo. That language carries weight, too. Nancy Guthrie's own terrier, the small black dog that her neighbor Jeff Lamy knew from years of watching it trot through her front yard, had passed away before February 1st. That dog would have barked. Bob Kerge said so directly. A barking dog at 1 a.m. changes the risk calculation. It draws attention. It makes the bad guy uncomfortable. It might have changed everything. It was not there to bark, and that silence may have been known in advance. As of March 21st, 2026, 49 days since Nancy Guthrie was reported missing, she has not been found. No arrest has been made. No suspect has been publicly named. But the digital disruption was real. The camera failure was targeted. The dog woke up. And the investigation has questions it has not fully answered. If you were in the Catalina foothills neighborhood on the night of February 1st, 2026, if your internet went out, if a camera showed footage that was not available, if an animal in your home behaved in a way it never had before, investigators need to hear from you. Contact the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI. Tips are completely anonymous. The reward is real. And every detail, however small it seems, may be the piece that breaks this case. Nancy Guthrie deserves to come home. Her family deserves answers. And the dog that woke up that night deserves to have its testimony taken seriously. Which part of this investigation do you find most significant? The selective Ring camera failure, the delayed canvas, or the fact that Nancy's own dog was no longer there to raise the alarm? Leave your analysis in the comments below. Discuss respectfully. This is a real woman and a real family. If you believe cases like this deserve serious, thorough, forensically grounded coverage that does not look away, subscribe to The Investigation Room. Hit the notification bell. New documentary every week. We follow the evidence wherever it leads. This investigation was presented with respect for Nancy Guthrie and her family. Our goal is to examine the evidence and search for truth, not to sensationalize